Hello.
Hi.
I'm Leslie. This is Tania. This is MindScapes717. This is our 16th podcast.
4 months, ladies and gentlemen.
Yes. Oh, my goodness. So we're pretty excited about this. We're moving ahead. We're about to start our actual podcast. So hold tight while we get the technology in place, because I'm not that, I don't have like octopus hands. And we'll see how this goes.
If she did, it would be dangerous, ladies and gentlemen.
Oh my gosh, I know.
The world would be in danger.
Yes, I think it would be. So
if you do shit what you do now with only 2, I can't even imagine.
Okay, so let me see if our voice is up, because our voice wasn't up. So now you can hear us. No, I just turned the. Told you, me and technology. That's what it is.
Oh, you love it so much.
I know, I do love it.
Back.
I know. It's just terrible.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so we're about to start the podcast. I'm gonna get the little music going here really fast. And we shall begin. Again, make sure that my noise is up. Swear to God. Hello.
Hi.
It's Leslie and Tania for our 16th podcast. We're really excited to talk today about all sorts of topics, but we realize that it's ADHD Awareness Month. And for those of you who do not know what ADHD is, sorry, a little slip of the tongue there.
Yeah, it could be as pineapple wine. One of the two.
Yes, we're trying pineapple wine, and it's good. Really, really good. It does taste like pineapple.
The Yellowtail brand. Mm-hmm. It's delicious.
Yum.
Yeah, so we're going to talk about ADHD awareness and kind of just give a little bit of information. Because obviously, ADHD stands for Attention Deficit Hyperactivity Disorder. The way it looks like is not the way it's not really understood. For lack of a better way of saying it, it's not understood. And even to this day, I've been practicing for 5 years. And even to this day, people have very huge misconceptions about what it means to have ADHD. A lot of the parents are concerned when their kids are diagnosed. They're worried it's going to impact their ability to go to college. No, it doesn't. ADHD has nothing to do with intelligence. It has not one fucking thing to do with intelligence. Kids, people, a lot of people now are getting tested. And it looks different in boys and girls, men and women. It looks very, very different. And we're kind of joining forces with ADHD in the ADD world of this attention deficit disorder. And then there's the specifiers, which we call them, and they're like hyperactive, inattention, or combined type. So that's kind of how we're moving along with it. And again, has nothing to do with intelligence. It has everything to do with how your brain processes information, and has nothing to do with how smart people with huge IQs can still have it, have no problem. It just looks very different when they're growing up, and socially we learn how to deal with it, but honestly, a lot of people don't even understand what it means.
I think that so much has changed with the whole concept of ADHD. Literally from not even a year ago, there's so much more information now after research has finally been conducted that it's hard to keep up. It's hard to keep up with all the changes. And it's also hard to keep up with technology. So one of the things that kind of frustrates us a little bit is this ability to go online, and you can take assessments online to see if you're ADHD or ADD or if you're bipolar or all these things. And Tania has this favorite word, and she goes, the audacity, which I love. But the fact is that a test online is not going to give you what you need. You might have a label slapped on you, but that doesn't mean anything. You have to put work behind whatever it is that you're diagnosed with, or you're doing by obtaining this label is using it as an excuse to behave the way you want to behave. So I mean, think about that just a little bit. But so many people have been diagnosed with ADHD now. And quite frankly, I think, I grew up with the label of learning disabilities. And I think today it would have been ADHD. But it wouldn't have been that even 5 years ago.
No.
So it definitely wouldn't have been.
Yeah.
Maybe ADD, maybe not ADHD.
Well, ADHD, it's overdiagnosed in boys.
Yes.
Because the way ADHD, the difference is the age, right, between the two. There's still attention. Both of them deal with attention deficit. But the hyperactivity is what little boys are mostly given. It's very rare that a girl will be given that. But because I think we're just a little bit... I've seen ADHD girls, very much combined type, very much bouncing off of my office walls, and it looks very different. But a lot of the times, there needs to be an assessment. And as an adult, like Leslie was saying, it is easy to go online and answer questions. You're like, oh, fuck, I have this. No. Because tying to ADHD, right, there is a lot of movement towards trauma being an issue that affects ADHD. Because we start looking at these, what are the circles, the diagrams? That
Venn diagram.
Okay, so Venn diagrams, right? If you think about a Venn diagram, it's depression, trauma, anxiety, ADHD is kind of thrown in there too, and depression can look like ADHD could look like depression, could look like anxiety, and then trauma is almost like this, foundation.
Bucket.
Yes. It's like the big butt. You're like, wait, do we need to look into trauma? And this is why it's so much harder for adults to be diagnosed, because we don't know the level of trauma and or issues growing up. That's a little bit harder. I mean, we can see someone and be like, oh, you're not paying attention. But if we really think about it, it could be anxiety. Like, what if you're anxious about like a big project? You don't have support. You don't know what to do. You're kind of thrown in with the wolves and you have to figure it out yourself. We only see this small of the portrait when we do online stuff, because you don't know what you're thinking sometimes. And we were just talking about this. I tell my clients, I said, don't you fucking come into my office with audacity, sitting next to you like best friends. I use this word all the time with my clients. Don't do that. Don't come into my office and tell me what your diagnosis is, because the only thing I'm going to tell you is, then why are we even talking? You're the pro, then go on, sis. Do what you got to do. Because you don't see the big picture. I have my own therapist on purpose because I don't see my own big picture. I can see anybody else's picture. That's why I love what I do. But it's because they're giving me information and I'm seeing the nonverbal cues that we always have to look out for. You can tell when people are struggling, but then you have to understand what is behind the struggle. As adults, we have too much of a history already that every day we're building. What if you have a very stressful job? What if you just lost a loved one? What if you don't have money for rent in your work? There's too many factors that are this hierarchy that we talk about, this Maslow's hierarchy. If we don't have the foundation settled, we're going to not be able, we can't settle down. We can't settle down. We're anxious. We're tapping our legs and we're worried about what's going to happen later. If I don't have my rent, what's going to happen? Or if I go home, someone's going to be yelling at me and I'm sad. Too many factors. This is so important because I know it's easy to go on and yeah, sure, you can see the questions and maybe be like, oh, maybe this might be something. And then you go find a professional. I don't like people out here thinking they got something like ADHD or BPD. That is my worst nightmare come to life.
Yes.
There's too many reasons for us to be emotionally dysregulated that has nothing to do with the personality disorder and or ADHD.
And a lot of times anxiety is a huge part of it.
Huge.
So a lot of times, as Tanya's been pointing out, I mean, we can have an actual anxiety issue that affects everything, and it can affect our physicality. It can affect our thought processes.
Mm-hmm.
It can affect how we behave. It can affect
how we feel,
emotional control.
Yep.
Like we don't have any. So I mean, please be careful about doing self-diagnoses. Please talk to a professional.
If you want to start with assessments, that's great.
Yeah. Because
then you're like, oh shit, something is not right. But please don't go into a professional's office and be like, I got this, this, and this. Because don't do that. If you find the wrong provider, they will agree with you and take it for word, and then you won't be getting the right attention. Hopefully someone will question you. Yes. I question my clients because you ain't about to tell me what I done bust my ass for years.
She questions everything.
I have to. Don't you come in here and tell me what you got, what you think you got. Because audacity. Of one. Girl, I need to tattoo that shit. My clients know I say this like at least once every session. Don't be audacious, please. Do not tell me. Because again, the schooling, it wasn't easy. The internship, the years of practice. You ain't about to minimize that shit to one thing. I can't emotionally regulate. Bitch, get out. Out of my office. Do not come here and tell me you got depression, you got bipolar, you got BPD. Don't do that. Don't do it. Because you will be kicked out of my office.
She's just done it before.
I just did it. I just did it last week. I said, girl, go. I said, get out. She's lucky it was at the end that she had audacity. Again, she knew better. She didn't bring it up at the beginning. She brought it up at the end when she was walking out of the office. I said, keep walking. We're going to talk about that next week. I know she's going to have something to say and she's probably nervous, but whatever. Just please start somewhere. We talk about these things and we can give you resources if you need an assessment and you're questioning. I mean, you could literally Google any assessment. So many things are at your fingertips, and that's great to start there. But please don't start and end there.
Right.
And take that as law and take it somewhere where they're going to give you a medication that you don't need or give you something that you're not needing. Because honestly, we don't want you to be drugged up to feel better, because that's not always the case either.
And here's the thing. Most doctors, once you have some sort of diagnosis that seems legit from online, they will prescribe you something for that. But the thing is, and these are usually serotonin reuptake inhibitors, SSRIs, please be careful with those, because honestly, research and evidence has proven that the medication is not effective if you don't have talk therapy or some form of therapy to go along with the medications. And that's because you do have to do work. It's just as simple as that.
Yes. And I tell people, it's fine if you, because I usually get on the other end of people don't want medication. They're like, no. Okay, if you don't want medication, that's fine. I'm no one to push you. I said, but I will always offer you an evaluation with the psychiatrist, just in case you want to, because they can tell you take all of this medication. You're like, no, they have to respect it. They can't make you take shit. But would it be recommended? Yes. And could it be beneficial? Absolutely. I tell my clients, this is not an everyday, the rest of your life. No. Usually those clients are seen at the hospital, or they're given different services. People that need medication long-term, that's different. We're talking about outpatient. We're talking about the most kind of basic at the bottom of the realm of getting services, right? So anything greater is very different, and that looks different. But in the world of outpatient, we see you once a week at best, if not once every couple of weeks. So yes, are we going to, I always say, if you want to see a psychiatrist, please let me know and I'll send you a referral. We have psychiatrists where I work, so send an internal referral and then they can have an evaluation. They leave with their recommendation. They can say, no, thank you. That's awesome. They'll come back to me and say, hey, they recommended this. I'm not doing it. Cool. Then what are we going to do? If you're not going to take something to help you from inside out, how do we better support you? You can't come in here thinking that just therapy and once a week and you got nothing in between. If there's no plan, it's not going to work. It's not. Even if you don't need medication, once a week, an hour, that's all I get. you're not, I mean, I'm amazing, but I'm not magician. I'm not. I'm just not.
What happens if you have a client coming in who can't like stop fidgeting, can't stop moving their legs, constantly looks out the window?
Oh, you're talking about half of my client load? Yes. What about them?
Stops their sentences in the middle of what they're saying, and then completely talks about something else. Yep. Talk to me about like what ADHD really looks like in a male, a United States citizen male. Because, let me tell you, Tania and I are going to talk about the differences that we have seen culturally with this diagnosis as well. But let's start with a male from the United States.
To be fair, I don't know how many males from the U.S. I have with ADHD. I can say I have more women with ADHD. And it's a mixed group of women. But because of my population, I can't. There's a lot of the U.S. people I can't really talk about. So let me see. For men that are, I guess, in the American culture, that have acclimated somehow.
Or who are born here. You know,
I don't have.
Yeah. Okay.
I don't know if I have any of them that have ADHD. No, you got me thinking. Well, damn, I don't think I do. I have a lot of Latino men that were born here, but culture in and of itself is very different because they have so much trauma.
Well, I've met two men who've lived here who have ADHD. One is my nephew. He has ADHD, and so I mean, he grew up with it, of course, but and was diagnosed at a young age. And he presents as somebody who is hyper focused. Yes, he is hyper focused on video games. Mm-hmm. And it's really, if he can have something else to focus on, he will, but he returns constantly to the video games because I think it gives him...
There's research on that.
Yeah, I've read some of the research. There's
research that apparently people with ADHD...
Like the structure of the games.
Yes. There's something about... Yeah. No, there's a lot of that. Because I know when parents come in and... When I see littles with them and they're like, well, they play video games. I'm like, well, yeah. There's research to support why they do that. But it is a hyperfixation. But the hyperfixation is because they like it. Yeah. They like it. They want it. They feed off of the movements. Like, everything just moves through. Right. And you have to focus, first of all. But there's a method to the madness of a video game. There's a goal. Right. And with ADHD, we need goals. We need a hard deadline.
Goals, mm-hmm. You know, all sorts of things. And I think the other thing is I learned in research that the development of the brain in males who have been diagnosed with ADHD don't fully develop until the age of 26. So there's something to that. I thought that
was like across the board. No. Biologically, 26 was like the age where the brain...
I thought it was different for females.
Oh, it might be.
I don't know. I'll have to go back and research it. But anyway, I thought it was specifically for males with ADHD. But anyhow, the other male that I knew, he could not sit still. Had to fidget all the time. Had to be doing something all the time. So if he wasn't working on something, he was running. And if he wasn't running, he was, composing something.
It's like keeping busy.
He has to keep busy. Otherwise, he said he would go crazy. He just needed to constantly be
constant stimulation. Oh, yeah.
Which, when you're with somebody like that, it can be rather annoying because sometimes you want to chill and your person cannot.
Annoying. So annoying.
And it's not their fault.
Oh no, by no means. And that's what I have to tell my clients. I'm like, if someone says you're annoying, I'm sorry. Yeah. That's not fair because you should not be ever called annoying because your brain can't settle. But this is where, right? Because that unsettled, I see it with just anyone with with an ADHD diagnoses that come in. I have big windows in my office. And I'm at the top floor. I'm at the 7th floor. Mm-hmm. And I have really big windows, which is really nice. We have actually a pretty good view to the borough. We can see towards the borough. Nice. So everybody looks out the window. Area. And then the birds, right, they like fly really close to the window. And I mean, they've scared some of my clients. They're like, oh shit. I'm like, it's fine. They get like very distracted. But yeah, no, I think that in general, I have fidgets in my office.
Right.
I have a bucket of like the trick or treat, the orange bucket for trick or treating. I've had that since last Halloween. We got it for the house to give candy out and stuff. But I took it to the office and I fill it with fidgets and candies and all types of treats in there. I have mints and gum and lollipops and stuff. I love candy. So I share it with my clients. I get big bags from Costco. Love me some Costco candy. So then I put it in there and I have fidgets. My people, adults to my littles, come straight into my office, go to the bucket, and start picking out the fidgets and the candies and stuff they want to take with them. I let them take the fidgets. Some of them want me to keep the fidgets in my desk, and then when they come in, I give it to them so they can save it. One. Yeah, because then they'll forget it. Right. Because they'll take one home and they won't bring it back.
Right.
So I'm like, I'll save it here, but if I leave it in the bucket, it's going to get taken because all of my fidgets get taken all the time. Yeah. So no, but the movement is very fucking real. They'll look out the window, they're talking, and then they'll stop talking. They'll look back at me and they'll be like,
what were you talking
about?
What was
I saying? And I'm like, you were saying this. So I have to be a little bit more alert too.
But be careful because sometimes we do that no matter what. I mean, sometimes.
But see, and then, oh my God, perfect idea, right? Perfect kind of segue into this is why we just do not assume people have ADHD.
Right.
Because I could be thinking about my bills that are due tomorrow and that I have no money. And I'm not worried about what we're talking about right now. Because guess what I'm worried about is my bills. Of course. People will be like, wait, what did I say? And I'm like,
no,
this.
I'm worried about my bills. Thank you very much.
Right. And I'm like, well, okay, yeah, let's talk about that, right? So again, that's a perfect example to why we cannot assume people got ADHD. Everybody has symptoms of ADHD. But we don't all fall under this diagnosis because we have to look at the bigger picture. I know we see with blinders. We can only see as far as our nose reaches, and I get that. But this is why in therapy, at least how I practice, it's so important to pan out. What is the whole fucking picture? We can't do this. We can't sit here and think we're going to figure things out because I can promise you, me sitting out here looks very different than this one moment. And one thing I like to say a lot is the grass is never greener on the other side. And scientifically, I heard that the grass will look greener from far away because of how the sun does whatever it does. When you get closer, it's not green.
Right, it's brown.
Yeah, right. So I was like,
with yellow spots, so be careful.
Yes, but that's what I learned at a trauma training. So they said, be careful with that. I was like, you're right. Because it's not. People think it's greener on the other side, and it's never not greener. It's just not greener. It's not a thing. And then we got to tell our clients this. Pan out. What is a big picture? Yes. Do you fit these symptoms? Sure. But what else are we dealing with? We can't hyper-focus on this idea that you can't sit still. That's anxiety, dude. Like, I'm anxious. Like, I have adrenaline, right? Adrenaline makes us fucking move. And then we're like thinking about things. I know my legs start twitching in session. I'm like, oh, I gotta reel it in. I gotta pay attention. Sometimes my client's anxiety gets me, and I'm like, I gotta breathe, and I gotta help them kind of calm down. And that's where we take a step back and we pan out.
So, what is a female?
A lot of them is more of
with ADHD.
A lot of them will just talk a lot. They'll talk about a lot of things in a very short amount of time. So they'll give me everything.
So you're saying oversharing.
Oh, oversharing. Huge thing. Yes. With women. And I think because women I think naturally like to talk more than men do. Because my men don't talk a lot. I have to like spoon feed them shit to tell me. And then my women are like, blah, 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 blah. Yeah, like no. All my women want to talk about all of the things. So I let them go and I make my notes and then I come back to one at a time. I have to redirect them all the time. Because they're like, what were you saying? Yes.
Verbal diarrhea.
No, yeah. They give me everything.
It's like it comes out. So much comes out. And
all of it at one time comes out. And then I'm like, all right. Is that all?
You have to unpack it.
One by one.
Yeah.
And this is where we can fight sometimes, okay? Because you're trying to tell me a lot of things and you don't want to go back.
Right.
If you don't want to talk about it, don't bring it up in here. I can promise you we're not going to let it go. We're going to come back. And that's the hard part about coming back to things. They struggle. Sometimes I have to be like, are you anxious about this? Is why you don't want to talk about it? Or is it really the ADHD because you didn't take your medication today and now you're all over the fucking place that you can't settle the thought? Those are two very different things. I have a lot of women that are on medication and that are very huge oversharers, and then they feel guilty about it.
Yes.
So it's more of the anxiety part of ADHD that they struggle with the most. But I have had littles that will bounce off my walls almost just quite literally, and they're girls, and I'm like, they're like tornadoes. They're the Tasmanian devil. I'm like, get out of my office. I can't even talk to you. Those girls are really...
Can't even do play therapy.
Nothing.
Like,
they're like, what's this?
They can't focus. Yeah.
Oh, man. And then they don't want their parents to leave, and then the parents want to share because they're so scared about the ADHD. They think it's, it means something worse. And I'm like...
It doesn't. It does not.
No.
It has no impact on intelligence. We have to stress that.
Oh, my God. I say it all the time. Because my parents are like... The parents that I talk to, they're like, well, are they going to be able to, like, learn? I'm like, that's... What? Yes. They just take information in differently. That's it. Yeah. And then they got to process differently, and you got to slow down and maybe repeat, and it's structure, routine, they need repetitive behaviors.
Right. I remember as a young child, rote learning was really important. So we would be taught something over and over and over again. We had memorize, right? And nowadays it's different. Of course we have different learning styles now, but somebody who has ADHD and it has been diagnosed as such with a therapist and a psychiatrist, they need that rote learning. They need that repetitiveness. They need, and they process it differently.
Because they will forget.
And all it is that. It's just processing differently. It doesn't mean you learn any less than somebody who doesn't have ADHD.
You just need a little bit of help. That's all, really.
So let's talk about like cultural concepts of ADHD. So Tania and I kind of already discussed this a little because we were ranting about it the other day. But go ahead, you start.
And we were just kind of talking about it before we started this, like. Culturally, ADHD, it's just not understood. Literally everything we just said is what I have heard American parents that were born and raised here, that are American bred.
Western perspective.
Yes. They will say, they won't be able to go to college. I didn't say these kids have a terminal illness.
No.
I said they just got to process. I had someone to go very far and said very inappropriate things, and I was like, don't you ever. Said really, it was bad. I was like, I don't, and the kid was right there, and I was like, oh my God, like, no, don't you ever utter stupid or the R word when talking about ADHD.
You're kidding me.
No, you said it. I was like, and he worked at a school that was for children, like alternative schools and stuff, and I was like, I was like, yeah, we're not doing that.
That would have upset me.
I was pissed. I almost levitated out of that fucking chair. And I still remember to this day. And it was so sad because I'm like, this child was like 6 or it was something really ridiculous to be like, this is not the same thing as using those words to say ADHD has nothing to do with that. It has nothing to do with intelligence. People with high IQs can have ADHD, and it doesn't mean anything. It's just, and I don't want to like minimize ADHD because when it's severe, it is very crippling and disruptive. The brain does what the fuck it wants to do, and it disrupts your sleep, your moods, it's a whole thing. So it's not just ADHD and that's it. It's a lot of things, but people wanted to talk about how it's going to affect your learning ability, and the only thing and again, I hate using these words, it's not the only thing, but the thing that we can kind of consider is where's the structure, the routine, where are things that give brain breaks. A lot of different counties have like flash passes for the littles, and they can take breaks and they can get up and go get water and they come back down. Or if their brain is done for the moment, they give them a break to stand up. And
organization is huge.
Huge.
So as long as you have organization and structure, you're fine.
Oh, absolutely. It helps a lot.
Yeah, it does. But getting there,
it's
getting
hard.
to that point is hard.
And I always tell the parents, I said, it's going to be hard on the parents because they have to keep repeating. But if you start them little, it will make it that much easier when they get older and the work gets harder. And they have to sit for longer in a classroom. When we get to high school, we're in a classroom for an hour and a half. Straight. And most teachers will teach the whole hour and a half. You cannot tell me the child with ADHD in high school or not high school, they're children. They think they've grown. They don't know shit. They're children. But they sit in a classroom for an hour and a half per period. And it's a whole day. Like, they got four classes.
And if you think about it, even organizations now who do all these online meetings, you have breaks. You purposely have breaks.
You have to.
You have to. Yeah. I mean, sitting online for 2 hours... I'm sorry, but nope.
No, it's a lot because you have to pay attention, right? And
yeah,
God, Lord forbid you have a fucking exam after. Oh,
so can you imagine a kid who has ADHD sitting in a classroom for an hour and a half, not able to move? I'm sorry, it's not going to work.
No, it's not.
But we're also going to talk a little bit about the invisibility of those with ADHD in different cultures. And I think it's really important to bring this up because other cultures, as Tania just said, it's not understood. It's not understood that this is, one, a diagnosis, two, or even like it's real, like it's a real thing. And some think that there's like a demon inside of you that's making you do the things that you're doing, or some people think that you just need to do more things to focus, or that you need to be punished for the things that you can't help doing because of this Absolutely. ADHD. It's the invisibility that we're trying to kind of break through it is ADHD Awareness Month, so we're trying to at least bring it to the forefront. If you do think you have it, no matter what culture you're in, talk to somebody. Just find somebody, talk to them.
You can start online if you want, but just please don't stop there. Please.
Right, don't stop there. Just because you have a label doesn't mean anything. Because like I said, the best thing you can do for yourself is to have structure, to have goals, to have
organizational skills.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And
use
time
a planner.
Management. Time
oh
management.
my God, timers are everything. Mm-hmm. I know with the littles, we try the little hourglass thing, the stand thing. Sometimes that helps because you have to transition the littles, and even as adults, we need transitional time. We need to organize. We need a break in between things, and you gotta know you got 5 minutes, 4 minutes, 3, 2, 1, and then you can move on to, because transitions are very hard too for ADHD.
Yes. Yeah. So, another trying in the elementary schools, and in early childhood classes. We know that they're really trying hard to learn how to do transitions in a different way. But we also know that it's not the same when you get to middle school or high school here in the States. Can you even imagine what that would be like in a different country with somebody who has this invisible issue that is not understood?
In Spanish, the way that they use deficit or issue, they say trastorno. And for us, trastorno is traumatic. It's oh, are you okay? Oh
gasp.
my God.
Gasp.
No, trastorno, the word itself is very heavy word.
Oh, okay.
It's a disastrous word. It's I don't even know how to like, because trastorno for us is like it's just something like something really bad happened and you're like, it's like a tragedy in your brain. It's like a huge tragedy. And now you're like, it's almost like it's close to like saying psychotic in English.
Oh, okay.
So if you say trastorno, it's like, oh, they're going crazy. They're having a psychotic break. That is the level at which trastorno comes up to in the English language. It's like very equivalent to what like a psychotic break would look like. The word itself. And that's what it's using.
Reading this book about belonging and having identity crises from this David Harewood.
Oh, yeah.
If you get a chance to read that, it's like, I said it was amazing in my little TikTok video, but let me tell you, it's not amazing. Amazing is not the right word. It is like this.
It's an amazing read.
No, it's an impact.
Yes.
It's an impact, just like that word is an impact.
It is.
And I think that when something impacts you so hard, you're going through all sorts of things. Racism, you're going through identity crisis. You have biculturalism going on, so you don't know which world you belong in. All these other types of things.
Right.
And then on top of that, you have a diagnosis,
it's like equivalent to psychosis. You're like, what the fuck?
It's an impact.
Yes.
And that impact is we're trying to mitigate by talking about it.
Absolutely.
Freely.
It's just so important to talk about.
This is a safe space. We're not trying to cause you more anxiousness. We're just trying to talk about what ADHD can look like.
Yeah.
And how it can be, not just here, but anywhere. And it's in both genders, but it looks different in both genders. And it looks different between races as well.
Yeah.
And it's something to be aware of. And we talk a lot about self-awareness. And we were just talking the other night, and we were saying, we talk a lot about self-awareness. And we say it as though it's a very easy thing to have self-awareness. It is not. Self-awareness is very hard to come by. You have to constantly be working at it, constantly. And so being aware of how you react in your own body is just as important.
Absolutely.
As like doing your assessments or, talking to somebody or anything else. You got to know what's going on inside you. Tania can't help you as a therapist as much as she'd want to if you don't first start with yourself. So for everybody out there, we are just trying to say, be self-aware of yourself, your body, the physicality, the mentality, the behavior, all of that. That's something that you can talk with a therapist or talk to somebody who you trust. Who can do some research, or
journal. Like you can really turn to anything that you love to do. You love to talk, go see a therapist, go talk to a friend who you feel safe with. If you like to write, fucking journal.
Get on apps. There's plenty of apps.
So many apps.
And let me tell you again, we're going to say this again, for those of you who do have ADHD and who are diagnosed with it, time management skills are so important, as well as having a structure in your life, as well as
organization.
Organization is so important.
Because ADHD comes with time blindness. It's a real fucking thing.
It is.
Either if you're running late, or you feel like you need to do more things than one,
or you become hyper focused on something so much,
and then you lose time. No, it's a real thing. I think these things just start with trying to understand what the issue is, and again, like we can say, if you don't want to go to a therapist, fine. And I know it feels almost contradictory to be like, go see someone. But it's because if there is an issue that you feel like you can't do alone, this is where you start considering other options. There are a lot of things you can Google. Google is wonderful. Google is fine. Just don't go on and give yourself this weird label and you're going to follow everything a quarter. No. You can find things that you like to do to get things out. Fine. Journal, talk to a friend, whatever.
Walk,
do some exercise. Yeah. We could do those things for grounding purposes. Yes. But if it feels like it's literally causing functional impairment, please go see someone. That's literally...
Or contact us and we'll get you the resources.
We could.
To do it.
I know I'm only licensed in Virginia, so I can only work in Virginia. But it doesn't mean we can't help you find, and we have linked some other stuff before.
Yes.
As far as services. And I know TikTok, there's a lot of wonderful therapists out there that are, easily, you can reach out if you need to. Like, there's too many resources these days to look. And if you need help, please, if it's causing impairment, functionality impairment, if we're talking about social, occupational, romantic, with relation, whatever, please, if you find yourself not able to deal day to day, then we need to consider some other options. Please consider other options.
Yes. So that was our talk on ADHD.
Girl, we can go on for days.
We could go on for days.
But we gotta,
especially on this topic. Yes. Because ADHD is probably the most, the biggest diagnosis.
I think it's controversial as shit right now.
That is given to people right now, along with bipolar. Bipolar used to be the hot thing. Now it's ADHD. Please be careful, because it is a hot term, and sometimes hot term becomes something that becomes
very pop culture.
Yes.
Very popular in pop psychology, pop culture. It's not appropriate because it's very disruptive. It's just, it causes impairment. And this is why we look at therapy as an option, or psychiatry, because impairment is what we use as our basis to say, oh no, like, we could do these things and we can kind of clear some space. But if you're struggling day to day, like, we need to consider something more than just that.
Absolutely. So again, MindScapes717 You can go on our TikToks and DM us. Same thing, MindScapes717.
And Instagram?
Insta, absolutely. And we're developing a website, so it'll be MindScapes717.com.
To be fair, we meaning Leslie, because Tania does not do websites. She sat here and was amazed, and I'm sitting here like it's Arabic, and I'm like, sure, let's do that, because I'll be very honest, I don't have it. I just don't. Leslie has. I know she's being kind, but no, I'm going to be real. It ain't we. It's her. So if you see a website come up, it's her. I contributed to just picking out pictures. That's as far as I go. Let's just be honest, Leslie. You're doing all the work. I sat here and watched her be amazed, and I was bored. I don't know how to help.
Poor Tania. I'm like, okay, I'm going to stop. I'm not going to hyper-focus on this.
I was like, girl, do you. Shit, we both benefit from this. I love it for you. I can't help you. I could pick pretty pictures.
That's what she did, and that helps, and that means it's ours. But
she's being kind. Don't listen to her. She's very kind.
Anyway, this is our 16th podcast, so we're really excited about this, and we hope to further this. If you have any questions for us, or if you have anything that you want to ask us, or recommendations, exactly.
We're going to Wilmington in like 3 weeks.
Exactly. We are going to Wilmington, North Carolina. We're continuing our travels. We've been to Pittsburgh. Now we're going to Wilmington.
I'm going to go find my candy store.
Still on the East Coast, but trust me, we're going west by going to New Orleans.
Give us a moment. We will be out west when we need to.
Yes, exactly. We will be out west pretty soon. Not just to New Orleans and then down to Belize and Honduras, and
the world's got to be ready. I don't think it's ready. That's why we haven't gone very far out. But you just wait.
Exactly.
Y'all gonna be sick of us.
Yeah.
Hashtag sick of us.
You will be sick of us, but that's okay. We won't be sick of you.
No, never. I love this shit. I can do it. This is what I do every day. I love it. Love it.
All right, so we are going to say goodbye. Hang on for those of you who are on our streaming. And while I try and figure out how to end the podcast, lucky you. Anyhow,
bye.
Bye. We'll see you next time.
Later.
Yeah. Nope, that didn't work. That did not work. Okay, let's try this one. That works.
We're just gonna have to post it, dude. Let's just let them really figure it out that we don't know what the fuck we're doing.
That's what it is.
Oh,
we are gonna do a whole thing of bloopers one day.
We need to post all of your voice notes is what we have to do. This girl's got a list of voice notes of our conversations laughing about how we don't know what the fuck we're doing. We need to post these for real. Those are the bloopers.
Yeah.
She has like 10 voice notes. I don't even know what has happened. Like, it's just us talking. I don't know.
It's terrible.
Technology hates us in return. She loves it, but it fucks with us a lot. It does.
And then she laughs at me because she's like, I'm going to record you because you're always cussing.
Leslie
while you're dealing with stuff.
Every time we do this, her favorite thing is fucking hell. It's fucking hell. The website is doing shit. This voice notes, it's the wrong one. I'm gonna set up a camera when she least expect it, and then I'm gonna post it so you guys see what I laugh about.
She's sneaky like that too. She's so sneaky. Oh my god.
I know, she's so obvious when she tries to take it. She acts like I can't see her, and she's like this. I'm like, girl. Okay. We just look the other way because obviously,
yes,
I give it to her sometimes. I'm sure, girls.
Yeah, she does give it to me.
On. I just sit there and I'm like, go on.
Go on, you're trying.
Yeah, you're trying too hard, but I see you. I see you, girl.
She's like, you too much.
Well, thank you guys. We appreciate you guys listening.
Yes, see you later.